first and foremost, I have people know is that emotional eating is in your emotional coping toolkit. It shouldn't be the only one. You should have other emotional coping strategies, but it's definitely okay to have. Welcome to the Complete Nutrition Podcast.
The podcast where we break free from the dieting cycle and explore sustainable, realistic ways to improve your health.
I'm Kylie, a registered dietitian with over 10 years of experience.
And I'm Spencer, and I've been eating food my entire life. And I happen to be a nurse.
Each week, we dive into the science, psychology, and strategies behind mindful eating and sustainable change.
Whether you're here to transform your relationship with food, learn how to make lasting lifestyle changes, or are simply curious about what true health looks like, you're in the right place.
We invite you to subscribe and tag along if you'd like to stop dieting and start living. This episode is brought to you by the vitamin K. And this vitamin was discovered in the 1930s by someone called Henrik Dam. And and this is supposed to be non-explicit.
Sorry, that was pretty explicit.
And he studied chick disease, which was a bleeding disease. And then later was able to identify vitamin K as a fat-soluble vitamin that would help with blood clotting. And interesting tidbit in where I see it in my career, in the NICU, infants are given vitamin K dosing. It's either a shot or they can get it orally. And so as humans, our gut bacteria synthesizes vitamin K. We can get it in the diet, but as our gut develops, our gut should make enough for us.
And our microbiome does?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. That's
yeah.
Cool.
And for infants, they obviously have sterile guts and then are just developing their gut microbiome. And so they need vitamin K. And we have, unfortunately, some parents who refuse, and then it can cause like brain damage because they just have brain bleeds and,
Yikes.
And anyway, so encourage if you're a mom, we do encourage vitamin K for infants, and it is found in leafy greens and animal products. It's also found in something called natto. Do you know what that is?
Mm-mm.
I'd actually never heard of it, but I have a client who's from China and she eats this all the time. It is a fermented soybean. You should Google it, look at it. It's a fermented soybean and it almost looks like cheesy, like the bacteria strands make it look super like cheesy, or like Rice Krispies, like the strands.
That sounds gross.
It looks really interesting. Anyways, but it apparently is an excellent...
That's bacteria? I just looked at it.
Yeah.
That's not cheese. That's bacteria strands
bacteria.
coming off of it.
Isn't that interesting?
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. And
I would try it. Is
she
it like
loves
acidic?
it. I have no idea. But apparently that's an excellent source of vitamin K.
We gotta go to Ocean Mart and find some natto.
Yeah. And then this was also another tidbit too that I recently researched. I don't know where this comes from, but I have all sorts of people who say so confidently that they take these supplements, and somewhere out there, someone has said that you need to take vitamin K2 with D3 because it helps, vitamin K helps vitamin D to be absorbed. And I fact checked that, and that is not true. So if you are taking vitamin D supplement, I wouldn't worry about getting vitamin K because, it messes with your blood clotting.
Yeah.
And you're making enough.
Wait, can you take vitamin K? Can you find vitamin K over the counter?
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Isn't that crazy? I know, it is so crazy. Also, heads up, if you're on a medication called Coumadin or warfarin, you do not want to be messing around with vitamin K, and you need your vitamin K levels because that's like for people who are trying to lessen their blood clotting.
Yep.
And
vitamin K reverses Coumadin.
Right. And so they have to go get their levels checked. I think it's like I don't know, weekly or monthly. It's
I
fairly
check it
frequently.
weekly.
Oh, is it
That's in a
weekly?
facility though, so I don't know if
Okay.
that's true
I
for if
know
you're at
it's
home.
fairly frequent. I used to work
But
in a clinic with a pharmacist who would check it.
yeah, it's at least weekly. A lot
Okay.
of the times it's
Okay.
more.
Yeah.
But
And so you don't want to have any changes in your vitamin K intake. Anyways, so it's kind of interesting.
yeah, I
But
didn't know you could give it because I only know of it as the injection, so I didn't
mm,
know that you could buy it just on your
yeah.
own. That's
Yeah.
insane. That's
Yeah.
intense. Huh, interesting. All right. Natto. I want to try natto. Okay, but today, Kylie, we're talking about our previous episode. We were talking about the first 5 principles of intuitive eating. And this episode, we're going to talk about the next 5 because there are 10 concepts in total.
Well, and I again want to give credit to where credit is due. Shout out to Evelyn, Tribole,
Shout
and
out.
Elyse, Resch, and we encourage you to go look at their work because they are the dietitians who came out with these ideas and are the OG intuitive eating dietitians. But in summary, the first 5, if you remember, it's reject the diet culture, honor your hunger, making peace with food, discover the satisfaction factor, feel your fullness. Those are the first 5. These next 6, or excuse me, the next 5 that we're going to be talking about today are challenging the food police, coping with emotions with kindness, respecting your body, moving and feeling the difference, and then honoring your health through gentle nutrition.
Okay. So the 6th principle then is challenging the food police. Who are the food police?
So have you ever heard, we talk about like our inner critic.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have several voices inside of our heads. And I like to talk about you have your inner critic, but you also have the food police and you also have the body bully, which we'll talk about later.
These characters were not involved in Inside Out, so
They weren't. If they make
I don't know if I
as
believe you.
Inside Out 3, I think they
They'll
would be
have
introduced.
the food bully, the food police. Okay.
Food police and body bully. But the food police is that inner voice that lives in our head that I think most of us, especially those of us who grew up in the States in a very diet focused and like health crazed nation. And it's this voice that tells us what we should or what we shouldn't be eating, what's healthy and what's not healthy. And the food police puts morals to food, and it can demonize certain foods or put health halos around other foods. And so your brain might look at a brownie, and that food police might come out and say, wow, that's a bad food. We shouldn't eat it. It's going to make you fat. It's going to give you heart disease. And then we eat it, and then our body digests it and breaks it down into all that it is: carbohydrates, protein, fats, micronutrients, and getting to this place of being able to challenge the food police and push back when the food police is telling you you shouldn't or you should do whatever. And acknowledging that really all foods, if you were to break them all down, they would all be able to fit into some type of a carb, some type of a fat, some type of a protein, and then different vitamins and minerals. And then if we get a variety of all these foods, we're going to be getting all that we need. And for this particular principle, an exercise that I'll have people do, or I'll do it with them, is to write down all of your food rules and to start to analyze them. And I think it's helpful to work with a dietitian or even just learning the science behind it. That's what helped me the most, I think, was learning true nutritional science behind these foods to help me to push back on that food police and to really see food for what it is. It is food, but it's also comfort, and that's okay. And getting a variety of all these different foods,
So
you're going to be fine.
Yeah. So to push back at the food police, if learning nutrition is what helped you, we just need to become dietitians.
No, go talk to a dietitian or marry
Just
one.
kidding. Or marry one. That's my favorite option. Okay. Number 7. I will say also that I was just wondering what my food rules are because I don't really know. it has been helpful learning the nutrition details that you have taught me, especially in this podcast, because I feel like I have a better relationship with food
Do you
because of
feel like
that.
you had any before? I feel like you had a fairly good relationship with food.
Yeah, it was like pretty mild. I like still like have noted some things are like mental
Yeah.
traps, but definitely mild compared to what I know a
Yeah.
lot of people have. So
Yeah.
like nothing to like talk about at all. But anyway, it's still been helpful. But okay, sorry. Number 7 is coping with emotions. What is coping with emotions with kindness? How do you cope
And
with?
what does that all mean?
Yeah.
So emotional eating, I think for many of us, we feel like we shouldn't emotionally eat. But if you think about as kids, when we cry, we're offered food. And like that's the first thing that someone might do is, oh, they're hungry. Let's give them food. And so we are taught at a very young age to emotionally eat. And then we grow up thinking that we shouldn't emotionally eat. But the fact is that emotional eating, it does make us feel good and it
Mm-hmm.
tastes good. And that's why we have comfort foods.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the first and foremost, I have people know is that emotional eating is in your emotional coping toolkit. It shouldn't be the only one. You should have other emotional coping strategies, but it's definitely okay to have to eat emotionally. And I definitely think that there are probably spectrums. I mean, we'll get into binge eating disorder at a later episode, where some of that emotional eating can lead to maybe like harmful binges. But I think eating something because you're sad or happy and like enjoying that food, that is totally okay. And and when we emotionally eat, we do it either to distract or to numb, to comfort, reward, or sometimes it's even punishment. I have some people who it's almost like a self-deprecating thing, like I deserve to
Ugh.
do this and feel bad and to feel overfull. But I think being kind to ourselves and knowing that we do emotionally eat and it's part of life and it's part of our toolkit for coping. If it's the only go-to is definitely working with a therapist or with a dietitian and adding other things to your emotional toolkit.
Mm.
And I'll have these are things I'll have people do to work on of like figuring out their emotions and emotional eating is to first identify triggers of what causes you to want to emotionally eat, do you feel like you're an emotional eater?
I think the only emotion that I feel that makes me want to eat is boredom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I
that's
don't,
good to note that that is like a really common emotional
yeah.
eating.
I don't feel like if I'm sad, like the first thing I think of is eating. I certainly have comfort foods that I enjoy eating that make me feel good, but yeah, I would say
Okay.
boredom.
Okay.
Probably.
So identify your trigger. So if you're bored, I also, so not only the emotions, but also like events. I'll get people who don't sleep very well, and then that can trigger higher emotions, or people who notice, oh, like when I'm around my in-laws or when my boss is at work, are different triggers that you can identify. And then trying to, find like other coping skills for those triggers or change the triggers that you can. Sometimes you can't change all the triggers, but maybe going to bed earlier or quitting your job. Just kidding. I hate that recommendation for people who are stressed with jobs. I see you. I hear you. Do the best you can. But identifying your triggers and changing what you can. There's also an acronym called HALT, HALT. And if emotional eating is one of your challenges or something that you do that you feel like you don't have any other coping skills, it is almost like a knee-jerk reaction. And so if you can put a pause into that automated response, you can start to rewire your brain and like change the gray matter of your brain. And so HALT, if you can pause and ask yourself, am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I tired? Like what am I feeling? What do I really need? And then moving from there.
So if you're actually hungry, then it's
Eat something.
okay.
If you're angry, Maybe you need to go punch a pillow. Maybe you need to go work out. If you're
Mm.
lonely, maybe you need to call a friend. If you're tired, maybe you need to take a nap. And really trying to identify things that can help you deal with those emotions. But knowing that if sometimes like the chocolate sundae is going to be the only thing that makes you feel
And that's
good,
okay.
and that's okay too.
That's what I was going to ask, because like it seems difficult to like define, like, should I ever emotionally
Mm-hmm.
eat,
Mm-hmm.
or like if I'm feeling bad, like no, I can't just turn to food. But I guess it, like we always say, it just comes down to a balance. Like as long as it's
Right.
not the only thing,
Right. You have a
and you're not,
variety.
yeah, and you're
Yeah.
not overeating or
Yeah.
making yourself feel sick from it, I guess. So
Yeah. Because
that's what I get
I
from it.
could guarantee that there would be times if you're lonely that like you probably don't need, there might be times, but there also might be times that you just need to go talk to someone, and that's going to help you more than eating an ice
Mm.
cream sundae. And other times, talking to someone isn't going to give you the same impact as a chocolate sundae, whatever your emotional food of choice.
Mm.
I say chocolate sundaes. I went through a phase where Dairy Queen. I lived in a small town, and Dairy Queen. I had never had a Dairy Queen Blizzard. Is that what they're called?
Yes. Wait.
Or
You?
the
How old were you when you had your first Dairy Queen Blizzard?
I was there when I was 25, and they're delicious.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
had a kind of a stressful job, and so I often went to Dairy Queen, and that made me so happy to get a Blizzard. Anyways, so ice cream helped me during my hard emotional
Yeah.
times. Okay, the other thing I wanted to comment, it's called urge surfing. And this is maybe a harder. So sometimes I'll have people find other distractions to help them cope with their emotions, but urge surfing is building your emotional muscles and sitting in the emotion without doing anything, and knowing that those emotions will peak and you'll feel all the hard feelings, but those feelings will not last, and riding that wave of the emotion until you can ground yourself. So urge surfing or finding other distractions, whether it's like a craft or watching a movie, going on a walk, going outside, reading a book, or I'll have people find ways to practice their ability to process those emotions. So going to therapy, talking to someone, journaling, something where you can get those emotions out. So all of those things can be helpful for emotional eating, identifying your triggers, halt, urge surfing, finding other distractions, and then practicing the actual processing.
Yep. Sounds difficult, but
Yeah, definitely not an overnight thing. I mean, this is something that will take months, maybe like years. And it will be, I just think we are complicated humans, and have emotions, and things will ebb and flow.
yep. And that's okay. Give yourself a little bit of slack with that. Don't turn this into a diet either.
Right.
Okay. Principle 8, respecting your body.
This principle, this is, I think, so important. They're all so important, but particularly this one, it's really interesting I'm starting to get younger clients in their 20s, even like I work with a few teens, and like there's a lot of things on TikTok about having really strong looking bodies, like fit, muscular people.
Mhm.
And oftentimes people will come and say and these words that I would have never had as a 19-year-old of like, I'm working on my gains. I'm working on like my lean cut. I'm like, what are these? So there is definitely this culture that's very focused on what your body looks like. And this principle is all about respecting your body. And there is a new focus, as opposed to body positivity, of focusing on body neutrality. Have you heard this before? What would you say the difference is?
Body positivity versus neutrality.
Yeah.
I mean, being neutral sounds, I'm not sure what the difference is. Yeah, tell me.
So body positive is learning to love your body and like what your body looks like.
And neutral is just not caring.
Neutral is just like, this is my body, this is how it is. And it's almost the same mental mindset that think about when you were I don't know, when you were super young and you had zero thoughts about your body, you just went and did things.
Yeah.
You didn't think about what clothes you wore. You didn't think about what you looked like. You just went and did
You
things.
didn't have an external audience in your head.
And then most of us have memories of when, like, the first time they learned or recognized that a body looks good or bad. I remember someone commenting about like someone's butt and saying, "Oh, like her butt's so big," and me thinking, and I remember thinking like, "Oh, like that's a bad thing." And
How
then,
the times
and
have
I mean,
changed.
I know, funny, right? I think I was like 7 or 8, and like that impacted me. And I remember like wearing longer shirts to cover up my bum
That's
because
sad.
I was self-conscious about that.
I remember feeling that way. This is so silly. Like almost embarrassed to say it. When I was a young teenager, like, I don't know, 12, 13. I mean, I was a pretty small lad, and I would go to the swimming pool. And whenever I was out of the swimming pool, I would flex as hard as I could and walk around flexed. And then I'd get in the water and then I'd relax. It was so
Oh,
silly, but I
but like the same,
yeah,
it's like the same mentality, right? Of that
yeah,
your body should look a certain way.
yeah. And I was super self conscious. And there was a while when I was again that age around there. I like just would wear a shirt in the swimming pool because I
Because you were so self-conscious.
yeah
Oh,
yeah it was
I would
pretty
have loved
dumb.
to hug little Spencer and tell you that
That
you
would have
were
been
okay.
the most terrifying and exciting thing as a young teenager having some girl 4 years older than me.
That's
Oh
funny.
my gosh.
um anyway, so this idea of body neutrality is getting away from trying to focus on like the things that you love about your body. And this idea is that if you love your body or feel have like positive emotions, you're still in danger because your body changes. All of us are headed towards like saggy skin and wrinkles
Getting
and
old.
gray
Yep.
hair. And so our body is going to change, and getting to a place where you can do things and not think about your body instead of thinking that your body looks good and having to feel like your body looks good, of just getting to a place that my body is good and
That is
accepting. Oh, go
oh
ahead.
sorry. I was gonna say that's difficult
It
to
is.
reach that.
It is, but it's
Because
possible.
yeah, I mean we say this like we're not there. I know I'm not there at least. I don't know, I still
Me
certainly think
too.
about it.
Me
So
too. I think we all have. Yeah. And it's interesting. I was telling one of my friends this, like, this is a hard concept for me because people judge me as a dietitian based off of my body. And
like, oh, you must be healthy.
I can't tell you how many people say things like, oh, like if you were, if you were heavier, I wouldn't listen to what you had to say. Or if you were
Oof.
50 pounds heavier, like I don't think I'd come back. I mean, these things that like honestly, I will probably bring up in therapy, and because I know like our weights are going to change, and it will definitely be something that like if we end up having kids and I'm going to have a postpartum body, that is definitely a fear of mine, is how people will judge me based off of my body. But I hope that I can get to a place of proving
Acceptance.
acceptance,
Yeah.
and that a person is more than a body, and that a body is good, and teaching people and just like, I don't know, just being above it all. And it's so hard. There's so many comments, and it is just hard. But yes, I do think it is possible to get to a place of this neutrality and knowing that your body is good, and accepting your genetic blueprint, your stage of life, and just focusing on like being the healthiest you can instead of looking a certain way.
Definitely difficult, but I mean, none of this is easy. Okay. Principle 9. So this one is called move and feel the difference. Is that what it's called? Okay. What does that mean?
Yeah. So when I say gym or treadmill, if I were to say like, let's go exercise, and I said, I want to go run on the treadmill or something. I mean, what emotions come up for you?
Dread.
Okay.
That's not, I don't know. I don't like running as much as I
Pain,
could.
unhappy. I would say like a lot of people, when they think about moving, it's really negative emotions. I would say most people don't love the gym and don't like to pump iron, don't like to be on the treadmill, and there's a lot of unhappiness.
I
And
think,
that's why a lot of people sign up for January 1st to go to the gym,
mm,
and then that lasts for like, I don't know, 6 weeks, and then the gym's empty again.
I think it's specifically the treadmill.
For you?
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I really want it and it feels good. I'm like trying to defend myself.
I don't love the treadmill. If
But
I were have a good or not podcast, a good audiobook, I do pretty good.
mm,
Um,
anyway, sorry.
Anyways, so this idea of moving and feeling the difference is finding movement that you love doing. If you think about kids are so wiggly and they're so active, and all of us have this like innate ability and this innate love for movement. And then as we grow older, we're taught to sit still, we're taught to not move, and we're taught to basically be a lot more sedentary. But if you think back to like our
Hunter-gatherer ancestors.
our
Oh, that's actually what you're
ancestry,
gonna say?
yeah,
Oh.
no, that we came from people who were very active, that moved in order to get food. And so all of us have, I mean, literally in our genes that there is this need to move and in
To hunt
okay.
on foot.
Don't be creepy. And so our inner child, it helps to heal our inner child and finding ways to move, whether it's pickleball or yoga or going on walks. Spencer and I are gonna go on a walk this evening. Finding things that you can reawaken this love to move, and finding ways to celebrate your life and your health and your body through movement with your friends and family. And so I have so many people that shut me down every time that I want to talk about physical activity. Like, I won't do it. I don't like it.
Mm.
And if you're in that place of pre-contemplation that you don't want to think about it, I would just encourage people to just start trying new things that involve movement, and you might be surprised that you find something that you really enjoy. And then trying to get your family and friends to do things. Instead of going to lunch with a friend, could you go on a walk with a friend? Instead of watching a movie with your family, could you go on a hike with your family?
But you can still watch movies with your family.
Of course, yeah. I don't want to also create this like, you can only move, balance in all things. But I do think as a society, we have a lot more sedentary activities, I think, that we gravitate towards. So finding things that you love and feeling that difference.
And it's definitely easier to do with somebody else. Like,
Sure, for sure.
at least for me, like
Yeah.
it's easier to be motivated to and to want to when I have somebody else to do it with. So if you are able to do that, great. Otherwise, call me up if you live around here. Okay. Principle number 10, honoring your health or gentle nutrition.
I love this one. I love that. I should probably have said that with every single one. They're all really good. This one in particular, I think, helps bring it home and tie it all together. When I teach these principles in different classes or in my counseling sessions, a lot of people push back because it almost sounds like we're saying like, just eat whatever you want, whenever you want, and just be happy and eat the foods that you want. And people feel like we're throwing health out the window. And honoring your health and this idea of gentle nutrition, we still want to include foods that are good for our bodies. And so gentle nutrition is going to look different for every single person depending on what their health needs are. So someone with heart disease or a history of heart disease, like for myself, my gentle nutrition is probably going to include trying to focus on adding in more plant foods, more nuts, more beans. Someone with diabetes might focus on ways to like balance out their meals to help with blood sugar control. Someone with GI issues, their nutrition is going to look different. So honoring your health through gentle nutrition is this idea of not having rigid rules and still finding a balance in eating all foods and eating foods that make you happy, but also make your body happy. And that's going to be totally different and dependent on what your health history is, as well as what your like your current needs are. And so yeah, focusing on on this idea of gentle nutrition as opposed to rigid nutrition, and accepting that all foods fit. But we still want to be adding in foods that our body needs.
Very good.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I wonder what do you think my gentle nutrition needs to be? I have some issues with, I guess my gentle nutrition is avoiding beans.
Yeah, Spencer.
Yeah.
Spencer.
Not that anybody wants to know this.
Oh, it's good.
I was just thinking about it.
We'll talk about GI health soon. Spencer has some GI issues.
Makes me feel pretty rough.
Yeah. So we have some enzymes that we make sure that you have, and
all the beans I want.
And then we try and add variety and maybe limit some beans or foods that are triggers for you. So I would say agree. I would agree.
Thank you.
That would be your gentle nutrition. Yeah.
Okay. So a quick summary of the 5 that we've talked about, just so everybody can remember. So we talked about number 6, which is challenging the food police. And then 7 was coping with your emotions with kindness. I'm remembering that if you have other ways to cope with emotions other than just food, like try and find other ways to cope as well as food. Because food is also okay. Anyway, 8 is respecting your body. 9 is movement and feeling the difference with movement. 10 is honoring your health and gentle nutrition.
And again, we'd really encourage, if any of this resonates with you, go check out their books and their workbook. And I think my end goal for anyone I work with, regardless of what your health condition is to ultimately be more of this intuitive eater, and be mindful about your habits and mindful about some of the psychology that goes behind eating. So there you have it. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
If you are listening, we imagine that you are probably on your own health journey. Thank you so much for letting us be a part of this journey. We want to invite you to consider these 3 questions as a weekly personal check-in.
The first question is that maintaining a positive mindset is crucial for success. So, what are your victories and your wins from the past week?
Second question, what are your intentions or focus or goals for this next week? Reminder that the simpler and more realistic, the better.
And the last question is, what are you going to do to accomplish this goal? Be specific, and we invite you to write this down somewhere. What specific things will you do to reach this goal of yours?
Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you are listening to, we would invite you to subscribe. We'd also invite you to leave a review. If you do, you will be entered into our monthly drawing to win a box of meal deliveries. Take a screenshot of your review and send it to Complete Nutrition, complete with a K, completenutrition@gmail.com. You can also check us out online at www.complete-nutrition.com or on Instagram at complete_nutrition.